right now. Coverage you can count on. This is KTAB News at 6.
Good evening. Thank you for choosing KTAB News for a KTAB News special report tonight. I'm Bob Bartlett.
And I'm Joni McKinnon.
I think 7 out of 10 pills that we find during traffic stops, there's going to be fentanyl, some amount of fentanyl in those.
Fentanyl is touching the criminal community in a way that no other drug has ever touched in my years of experience, and we've got to put an end to it.
It's the leading cause of accidental overdoses in the United States.
Even suspect your kids of doing drugs, intervene.
According to the Drug Enforcement Agency, fentanyl is the leading cause of death for Americans between the ages of 18 and 45.
Abilene and the Big Country are not immune from this drug. An Abilene woman chronicles her addiction while delivering a powerful message. KTAB's Victor Sotelo has her story.
It's day-to-day normal on the surface of Abilene streets. But scratch that surface. The streets are talking.
The stuff I've seen,
It's where we met Jennifer Jowers.
it's not safe to be on the streets of Abilene.
Walking down one of those Abilene streets.
Being on drugs is,
State Street in North Abilene, to be specific.
it's hard because you're only chasing that. That's all you chase. It's just the high.
Jennifer grew up here in Anson, just north of Abilene. She graduated from Anson High School at the age of 16, but by the time she was 18, she already had children, and she found herself in prison on a theft charge.
I just kind of gave up on life, gave up on everything, and just really went nose deep into my addiction.
Despite her years of drug use, it was only a couple of years ago that she was introduced to fentanyl. She thought she was using meth.
It's 3 times stronger. It makes you sick. Makes you feel like you're dying.
She eventually got out of prison after a short stint, got her kids back, and even went to a couple of years of college. She wanted to be in forensics, but her battle with drugs continued, and she found herself in Abilene in 2018 on the streets for the first time. Jennifer says she's now 40, and this is where she sleeps, on these steps over the Mockingbird underpass, under the train tracks. A lot of people in Abilene don't even know that these steps are here, but you can see that it's very popular with the homeless, so she can't always sleep here. She also says since that day when she detoxed just up the road from here, she's seen fentanyl take its toll on Abilene. In recent months, 8 of her friends have died.
Chloe, she was 18 years old. She was, she didn't even get to live her life, and she died of it. They said a heroin overdose.
Jennifer says she's holding out hope for herself and says there's still time for her, and has this message.
If you even suspect your kids of doing drugs, intervene. Period. Anybody. If you care about them, intervene.
Jennifer's story is just a quick listen.
There's something in it. There's something, I don't know what it is, but
into what Abilene streets are saying.
It'll eat holes in you, pretty much.
Just below the surface. In Abilene, with coverage you can count on, I'm Victor Sotelo.
We need your support to make any changes in this community to help our kids.
You'll be hearing more powerful words just like that tonight from emotional mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and other relatives and friends. But we hear from a grieving mother speaking at an Abilene City Council meeting.
Crystal Lewis, the mother of Jaron Hernandez. Jaron passing away late last year around Christmas, a fentanyl overdose. Since then, Crystal and many of Jaron's extended family coming together creating Jaron's Hope, an organization for teens battling addiction. Jaron's mother asking the Abilene City Council to support the fight against addictive drugs.
But the thing is now with fentanyl, it's killing them. Addiction is so much more serious now because of fentanyl. I want you to start hearing about this because we need your support to make any changes in this community to help our kids.
While Jaron's hope is still in its early stages, the plan is to build a facility dedicated to helping 12 to 17-year-olds who struggle with addiction. Designing the proposed building right now.
Coming up on Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, several things you may not know about the deadly drug.
Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, presented by Taylor Alliance for Prevention and Prevention Resource Center, Abilene.
Fentanyl, a drug you've likely heard mentioned more and more throughout the past few years in hospitals with controlled administration, and of course in schools and on the streets with rampant illegal distribution. Perhaps you've even lost a family member or friend in its senseless rise to the top of the federal watch lists. But what is it, and why do some choose to use it if it's known to be so deadly? KTAB's Noah McKinney sets out to clarify that answer in simple terms, speaking with a county official on the front line fight and researching the origins, rise, and infamous reign of this single drug epidemic.
What is fentanyl? You know it by name.
Fentanyl has been a game changer. It's kind of in a lane of its own.
You've watched it spread.
It's cheaply made and manufactured. It's being pushed in high quantities.
It really is an American tragedy.
No matter where you're at, no matter what small town you're in, fentanyl is there.
And you've heard stories or maybe even experienced the heartache it's caused.
This is real, and this can happen to anybody.
Parents would come home and find the dead 14-year-old or 12-year-old in their bedroom. Didn't take their life on purpose, but they were just trying out a pill.
But where did it come from? Why do people use it? How has it spread, and why now? Let's start from the beginning. What is fentanyl?
It's basically a synthetic narcotic that's made in a laboratory.
And it's been around for longer than you might think. First developed in a Belgian lab in the 1960s, fentanyl is a synthetic or man-made opioid used clinically for decades to treat severe pain. The issues arise when that substance is obtained without prescription.
We preach this message all the time. We don't take anything that hasn't been given to you by a pharmacist or a doctor.
Texas Department of Public Safety Sergeant Mark Couch saying the potency of the drug has even changed how searches are conducted.
Like a powder that gets in the air, you can quickly be overdosed.
50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times that of morphine, a fatal dose of fentanyl measures just 2 milligrams. But if it's been around for decades, why is it only now that we're seeing this rise in prevalence? It begins in the 1990s with what the Center for Disease Control calls the 3 waves of the opioid overdose epidemic. Pills like OxyContin were more widely prescribed for pain relief, and addiction took hold. In the 2010s, access to these substances was more heavily restricted, leading dealers and users to turn to heroin in search of that high, a high that can be manufactured much more cheaply with fentanyl.
What we've seen in the last, say, 3 years has been this counterfeit use of fentanyl in narcotics. The problem with that is the pill makers can make mistakes. They give you a lethal dose of that narcotic that you think is a regular OxyContin.
Those being counterfeit drugs or pressed pills, which are pills sold as one drug but actually compromised of or laced with fentanyl. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, overdose by synthetic opioids, primarily fentanyl, have been on a sharp rise since about 2012, far outpacing other drugs. But whether you're seeking it out or ingesting it unknowingly, the risk is always the same.
We have a culture that, for whatever reason, wants to be high. Life doesn't get better after you're high. When you wake up, it's the same life that you were in.
And while drugs have always come with risk, when one pill can kill,
we're just one choice away of changing our lives forever. It could be good, can be bad. When you know it's bad, just say no and step away.
For BigCountryHomepage.com, I'm Noah McKinney.
Thank you, Noah. All the facts discussed in this story, as well as helpful links on how to talk to your loved ones about fentanyl and resources on overdose prevention and reversal, can be found on the KTAB website, BigCountryHomepage.com.
As Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis continues, join us on our ride-along with Anson Police. See what they see in the drug war.
Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, presented by Taylor Alliance for Prevention and Prevention Resource Center, Abilene.
An alleged drug dealer has been charged with murder after a fentanyl overdose in Abilene, and an accused drug dealer has been indicted for murder after an Abilene woman died of a fentanyl overdose within the last year. In February, Jarrell Russell was taken into custody on a warrant for a first-degree felony murder in connection with the death of Jesslyn Sturgill, who was found dead of an overdose inside an Abilene home in May of 2022. And just days ago, Frederick Hunter was indicted by a Taylor County grand jury for murder and delivery of fentanyl causing death in connection with the death of Joanna Nicole Bryant, who died of a fentanyl overdose in January 2023. In June of last year, Texas passed House Bill 6 that creates a criminal offense of murder for supplying fentanyl that results in death. Well, with the ever-increasing threat that fentanyl poses nationwide, many have suffered as a result of the deadly epidemic, with new litigations offering more severe punishments for those who are involved with the drug. Many put forth efforts to combat the destruction it has caused. Our frontline defenders in this threat are law enforcement agencies, and KTAB's Tobin Smith got a chance to ride along in this fight against fentanyl.
After viewing this, you may look twice at the car next to you on your next drive down the highway.
We've received intelligence which indicate that there's heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana traveling north and south on Highway 277. Also 180 runs east and west, and we understand that they're using 180 as well.
These rural roads serve as a major thoroughfare for traffickers hoping to avoid law enforcement on I-20, and Chief Dan Graziosi of the Anson Police Department describes how advancements in technology have aided them when dealing with fentanyl.
Just the way we search cars has changed since fentanyl has really become prevalent.
There's one on each side. They're high-speed license plate readers. I can pick up anything going 80 miles an hour over my speed.
On average, we're reading anywhere from 3,300 plates to 10,000 plates a day. And they can be entered by Border Patrol. They can put in suspected drug smugglers, people that have previous encounters as drug mules or known drug couriers. That information can be put into the LPR. And the LPR alerts the officer that they've encountered that car.
Officer Cole Rutherford of Anson PD allowed us the opportunity to ride along with him on his nightly patrol, where he describes not only how dangerous fentanyl is to consume.
What do you think whenever you're handling this kind of stuff?
Oh, I mean, it's scary. It's scary every time. It's a silent killer. That's the best way to describe it, because you never know. And you don't know, you could be driving down the road and accidentally touch your face with your hand and you're exposed to it.
From the street to the courtroom.
Fentanyl's been around forever. The problem is that fentanyl is touching the criminal community in a way that no other drug has ever touched in my years of experience.
Taylor County District Attorney James Hicks knows all too well the reach this deadly drug has when dealing with it in the courtroom.
Fentanyl is affecting all of the domestic violence situation. And we're dealing with families that are being destroyed because of drugs, opioids, and fentanyl specifically.
Meanwhile, Texas House Bill 6, which went into law last September, gives prosecutors like Hicks more teeth when going after fentanyl dealers.
If a dealer deals someone that ingests or introduces fentanyl into their body and dies, we can go after the dealer for murder. That is a perfect example of how fentanyl has gone beyond just the drug statute.
Although DA's offices across the state of Texas have a new weapon in this fight against fentanyl, the lethal drug is impacting state agencies across the board.
Our law enforcement is being overwhelmed by it, our child protective services and our family courts are being overwhelmed by it, and we've got to make a difference. We've got to control this issue.
But for Officer Rutherford and those like him, the effects can ripple beyond the criminal element.
With the scare of fentanyl, it's like everything's had to change. Like, I can't just walk in the house and go and like grab my kids. Usually before I can touch my kids, I have to go to a shower because you don't know what it is you're taking home.
From the DA's perspective, the message regarding fentanyl is clear.
We don't need another case to prosecute for a homicide or a domestic violence or any kind of assaultive behavior. We need to turn this community around and get them on a productive path away from the dealers of fentanyl and opioids.
For BigCountryHomepage.com, I'm Tobin Smith.
Coming up on Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, a new kind of vending machine distributing hope in the Key City.
Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, presented by Taylor Alliance for Prevention and Prevention Resource Center, Abilene.
To help combat the problem of fentanyl overdoses, the Abilene Recovery Council has brought a new kind of vending machine to the Key City. I spoke with a local nonprofit about how a grant is helping provide a life-saving solution that's now available in Abilene. That's the sound of a life being saved.
It helps our community, and we're able to partner with our other agencies to keep it filled. It's time to have one in Abilene.
What she's talking about is a Narcan vending machine now available in the Key City, used to reverse the effects of an overdose.
We've seen with the police department that they have seized fentanyl, they have seized opioids from different drug seizures, and so it's here, it's in every community.
Even the smallest amount of a drug like fentanyl is life-threatening.
Whether it's someone who buys a counterfeit pill from someone, or if a loved one accidentally takes a second dose of an opioid they've gotten from the doctor even, you can still overdose from a prescription medication.
After researching the perfect location, the Abilene Recovery Council settled on placing it in front of Book Therapy on Butternut Street. The owners quickly saying yes.
But it is something that's important. It's part of Christian values. It's we love each other, we love everyone, and take care of everyone.
Choosing a space where it reaches the most people.
It's within walking distance for a lot of our unhoused neighbors and a lot of people who are living in this area. It's a very easy access for them, and so we wanted to make it accessible as possible.
Community members proud to have a life-saving tool accessible to all.
We've had a large number of people from all different walks of life come into our used bookstore, and not a single person has had a bad thing to say about it. Everybody's asked about it, and once I've explained, that everyone has thought it has been a wonderful idea.
Every time someone is saved from Narcan, it's an opportunity to enter treatment and recovery.
And if this gives them that opportunity, then everything's worth it, and we've saved a family and a person's life. We want everyone to thrive and to be able to be a big part and a positive impact for our community. So why not save everyone's life?
The city of Austin welcomed its first Narcan vending machine in 2022, and since then, organizers have seen a decrease in overdoses. The Abilene Narcan vending machine is located at 1017 Butternut Street, but even those who don't live in Abilene may utilize the product. The machine available 24/7 and free of charge, and there is also a QR code that explains how it is to be used.
Coming up on Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, how we are protecting students from potential dangers.
Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis, presented by Taylor Alliance for Prevention and Prevention Resource Center, Abilene.
Well, it's back to school time in the big country, and administrators have been prepping for the new year, addressing topics like phones, dress codes, and opioid and fentanyl dangers and their potential presence in the education space. KTAB's Mariah Williams visiting local schools just as the semester begins.
School is almost in session for the big country, and while admin prepares for students' arrival, they are also keeping one important topic at the forefront: the dangers of opioids, especially fentanyl.
It can look like a gummy, it can look like a piece of candy, it can, different things can be laced.
With social media and endless possibilities at the fingertips of students, Allison Camp with Abilene ISD says it's important to keep the conversation open.
Our students are having to be more and more aware of these dangers just because it is the world they live in. We want to make sure they're prepared to know what to do, to know where to report, to know how to get help.
Thanks to a fentanyl education bill passed in 2023, prevention is required for grades 6 through 12, but the conversation should not end there.
Parents need to be aware. They need to be aware of what their kids are doing on social media. They need to be aware of the lingo and the emojis and all of the other things that the kids are using to access drugs.
At Premier Schools, nurse Christine O'Shields has fentanyl education as one of her top concerns, having decipher charts in her office and teaching the students life-saving measures.
I show them how to use the Narcan. I teach them how to use the Narcan. And I tell them that there are places in the community that they can go and they can have Narcan on hand. And all you have to do is you have to take it, put it up their nose, and squirt. It's in the vapes. It's in the. It's in everything. So we kind of try and keep a close eye.
With prevention in the spotlight, educators are doing their best to protect students from one bad decision that could cost them their life. Reporting in Abilene, with coverage you can count on, I'm Mariah Williams, KTAB News.
Well, thank you for joining us for our special broadcast, Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis. If you or someone you know is in need of help, be aware that there are resources available to help. We have a full list of resources on the KTAB website, bigcountryhomepage.com, on the tab Confronting the Fentanyl Crisis. That's it for now, but our Bob Bartlett and Joni McKinnon sat down with local health officials, social agencies, and local enforcement to learn more about how the fentanyl crisis is affecting our Big Country community. Watch that conversation on the KTAB website, bigcountryhomepage.com. Again, thank you for joining us. Good night, and God bless.